Hi, my name is Julie Vaughn, and today I'm going to be talking about the Kansas Parent Rights in Special Education. Doesn't like to go to the next. There we go. And this is the things we're going to be talking about today. Some definitions that you need to know as a parent when you have a child in special education is FAPE. FAPE stands for Free Appropriate Public Education. LEA stands for Local Education Agencies. LRE stands for Least Restrictive Environment. KSBE is the Kansas State Board of Education, and an IEP, which is an individual educational plan. So, when there's going to be a meeting held for your child, you need to receive it 10 days in advance for an evaluation to see if they qualify for special education services, for reevaluation, which would be a child if your child is already receiving special services, or if they just have a regular IEP meeting, which happens yearly, or if they have a provision meetings, which means they're just going to make a few changes to the IEP. Schools are responsible to make sure that the parent understands everything at the meeting. So if you need a translator, the school needs to provide that. A school can request an evaluation with a notice of a meeting, and the parents can revoke that. If the parents need help understanding their rights, there are centers in each state. You would just need to look that up or ask the school for guidance. Some of the rights that you have as a parent is that you should be included in any site or district council, and this just kind of helps make changes for your school district. Parents are required to get their kids to school as much as possible. You also have access to all of your students' records. You should be given the documents at every year on the procedural safeguards and the parent's right in special education. It can be given to you electronically, or it can be mailed to you or given to you at the IEP meeting. Parents can present complaints. Parents can also consent or revoke an evaluation or a reevaluation. You have to be a member of the team. You can also appeal to the state board. So if you don't agree with something, you can take it up with the Kansas State Board of Education. And then you can also appeal something to the state of federal court, the state or federal court. You can also demand student placement until due process. So if you don't agree with something that's happening, the school still needs to offer those services for your child until due process is gone through. You can also request an evaluation for your student. Parental consent, if parents don't respond to a school can still evaluate a child due to FAPE and the procedural safeguards. If parents don't consent to a reevaluation using due process. So that's how the school would get around it if the parents don't consent, is use the due process or the procedural safeguards. If a child qualifies for services, the parents need to consent to start the services. If school wants to change placement, they can do so with the due process without the parents' consent. If schools want to add or delete services, they can do so without the consent of the parent using mediation or due process. Um, parents have Parents do have to consent, though. If your child is in a private school setting, there is no due process in the private school setting. The school needs parents' consent to have an outside agency to attend. If your child is getting ready to attend post-secondary school, you can have an advocate come and help with the transition for your child to go on to the post-secondary school. But once again, the parent has to consent to have that person at the IEP meeting. Parents can revoke consent at any time, but you would need to realize as a parent, if you decide to revoke consent, that there would no longer be an IEP in place. There would no longer be goal setting for your child. So, gifted students also qualify under this umbrella and they also receive an IEP. The rules are slightly different when you're a gifted student. You aren't required to have the LRE, and there's no extended school year, and gifted students do not qualify for the disciplinary protection like students with exceptionalities. An educational advocate is appointed to a child who is homeless and whose parents cannot be found or contacted. This is not the same if you cannot get the parent to answer the phone. If you know the parent is around and just ignoring you, that is a different circumstance than having an educational advocate. The educational advocate is picked by the Kansas State Board of Education. Children in DCFS or DOC, which is the juvenile services or in custody of the state, will also receive an educational advocate. See if I can get it to move. Here we go. Insurance. So it's not loading very well, but insurance. So this, when your child is evaluated for special services, it is free of charge. Parents do not need to provide insurance information. State insurance information can be provided, like if you have Medicaid. Once your child turns 18, all educational rights go to your child. A parent can attend a meeting for an IEP still if the child wants them to, but they don't have to any longer. And here are my references. Most of my references were taken from the Parents' Rights and Special Education Procedural Safeguards for the state of Kansas. Thank you.